All right, my friends. We just pressed the Let's Go Live button. And so that means we've got to wait for the streams to fire up all across the fruited plain of the interwebs before we go ahead and get started. Got to make sure these tubes are still working on this lovely Friday. We made it through another week. And it was a busy one, but we're not done yet. We've got business to attend to, and it looks like we're connected. That's tremendous. Let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Gouveia, and today we are talking about lawfare plans backfiring. We've got updates that we're going to go through, starting today with some Hunter Biden updates. We know he's in trial, and today the prosecution just rested their case. We're going to hear from the final witnesses before the government said that they're done. We had a ton of evidence that was presented in this case. We had Hunter Biden's own words in his audiobook saying, I was a crackhead, basically, during the time that he bought that gun. We had photos, videos. We had the artist rendering of the nips poking out in court. So there was a ton of material there. The question is it going to be enough? The government prosecutors have rested. We'll get the final updates. Now it'll be over to the defense. We'll see what kind of case they're putting on, all in our first Biden segment. Then we're going to do some updates on Fani Willis and the Florida classified documents case, because Fani is getting a new letter from Representative Barry Loudermilk. Loudermilk is investigating whether or not she colluded with Cassidy Hutchinson. You know her, Clavicle Girl, who was responsible for that fake story. Liz Cheney dragged her out, threw her in front of the media, in front of the cameras. We know the story was fake because, well, the Secret Service, the people who were there, say that never happened. And Cassidy Hutchinson was still paraded around like a hero by Liz Cheney and a bunch of the people on the left. So we'll talk about that story. Also, Fani, her case is on hold, so that's not going anywhere. We saw those headlines, and we'll take a look at what's going on in Fani land, because not only is Cassidy Hutchinson under investigation, but so is Alyssa Farrah. You remember her. We see her on The View a lot. We put her in the same category as the rest of the TDS Spice Girls. It was Cassidy Hutchinson, Clavicle Girl, Alyssa Farrah. There's the blonde woman that no one knows about. She's kind of like the groupie, whatever. So they're both getting letters from Congress. We'll talk about that. Jim Jordan wants to sit down with Jay Bratt, the Florida Oompa Loompa, the prosecutor who is involved in the classified documents case, a very key prosecutor, somebody who has been under a lot of scrutiny because he was threatening another lawyer who was representing Walt Nauta, Stanley Woodward, and he said to Stanley, it'd be a shame if you didn't get your judicial position that we know you want so badly. Why don't you just force your client to cooperate with us? And Stanley's like, what? This is not an ethical conduct from a prosecutor. This is ridiculous. And so we now know there's a lot of malfeasance coming out of Jack Smith's office. Now Congress is looking into it. Jim Jordan sent a letter. It's a good one. It's about 5 pages. We'll take a look at it. But he's demanding an interview with Jay Bratt. So literally a specific prosecutor says, I want to come in and talk to you about your political prosecution. So I know there's a lot of letters out there, but these ones are good and we like to cover them. Then to wrap things up, we'll talk about what's going on with Trump, man. He was in Arizona yesterday, and the event was so hot, people actually had to go to the hospital. All right, it's a bad joke. Hopefully they're okay. It's hot in Arizona. We have this little heat dome going on right now. And so there were some people who actually got, heat sickness, heat stroke from being out there. So they're at the hospital. But anyways, Trump is rocking and rolling the scene. If you saw some of the footage from the Arizona rally, it was wild. Trump was out there. A lot of people came out in Arizona. We didn't make it out there. We're likely going to see him this weekend. We'll talk about that later. But we were doing our show while Trump was speaking to Arizona. And then he left. He went over to San Francisco and he raised a bunch of money, $12 million over there. So he came out and he said when he was here that they've got $400 million. Woo! That's a lot of super chats, man. So Trump is raking in the cash. Then he flew out. He was hanging out with David Sachs and Chamath Palihapitiya over in San Francisco with all the tech bros. And he just pocketed another cool 12 million on top of that. So we'll talk about all of that. And we'll get some more fallout on the verdict because we even have Bill Barr, who's coming out saying this is totally ridiculous. This whole thing is going to be reversed on appeal. And we got more reaction, Kellyanne Conway. And then we'll look at some of the polls because Trump seemingly is continuing to pull ahead of Joe. This entire lawfare scam is backfiring. And so we got some good stuff to get to today, my friends. Glad that you are here and with us. You can see we got some great documents pulled up. We're going to be looking at what's going on with Fani Willis. We're going to be seeing what's going on with Alyssa, Farrah, Griffin, the Spice Girls, TDS Spice Girls, and the rest of them. But before we get all into the business of the day, let's talk about this new story over from the New York Times. Oh, great. Bird flu again, adapted to sea mammals. And it may not be done yet. So this is a sad scene of dead seals, seal pups, graveyard. Oh, man, bird flu. So it's now spreading around dairy cows and other things. Research offers the first genetic and epidemiological evidence of the bird flu now being transmitted among mammals. There's a warning, may similarly transform and include other mammalian species. That's us, humans. All right, so it really feels like they're ratcheting this up. This is the New York Times. Yesterday, we shared another story. On and on we go. We don't know what the heck goes on with these things. So the best solution, in my opinion, is to get prepared no matter what. One way we can do that, our friends at the Wellness Company. You can get your life-saving medications. Keep them on hand just like I do. We don't know what's going to happen, so it's better to be prepared. This is a prescription contagion emergency kit from the Wellness Company, the only kit of its kind. It's got a bunch of good stuff in there. I've got mine. You open it up, depending on what you get, which kit you select, you're going to find Z-Paks, Tamiflu, budesonide, nebulizers, emergency meds with a guidebook so you know how to use it. This stuff is backed by Dr. Peter McCullough, lead research experts all over the place contribute to this. And you can get yours less than 2 minutes, twc.health/Robert. Use code Robert, 10% off, and you get free shipping. It's very quick, very easy, very inexpensive. So go check it out, twc.health/Robert. Use code Robert. These kits are only available in the USA, and it's better to be prepared than not because we remember what happened last time. So check them out. Links in the description below. All right, and so, my friends, without any further ado, let's talk about the trial because we've got business to attend to here. Hunter Biden trial continues, but the prosecution rests. The evidence has been presented, and they have dropped the mother load. We got videos, we got photos, we got artist renderings of Hunter's nipples being shown to the jury. We got audio recordings. Hunter spoke in his own words from his own audiobook that he was a drug addict during the time that he purchased this gun and marked the form erroneously, illegally breaking the law. And so we're going to get updates on what is happening in this trial. The question is all of that evidence enough? Is all of that material? We also have eyewitness testimony. We had Hallie Biden come in. She testified previously that there was a romantic relationship between these two. She threw the gun away. She explained about the drug addiction and how this whole scene unfolded. But prosecutors today are bringing more people, including a forensic chemist. Remember, there was cocaine on the outside of the gun pack, and a DEA supervisory agent to come in and talk about Hunter's code language. Now, the jury yesterday heard a bunch of dramatic testimony. Hallie Biden explained the drug addiction. She also got addicted, and explained how she was the person who found the gun and threw it in the garbage can before the other gentleman found it and called the cops. We're now on day 5 of the trial. Prosecutors are going to rest their case, and they did. Then Abbe Lowell thinks he's going to call a couple other witnesses. It depends on what happens with the prosecutor, but we'll see. On Tuesday, Naomi Biden, Hunter Biden's daughter, is also on the witness list, so we'll see if she gets called. So the day starts to unfold. Joe Biden gave a bizarre interview yesterday where he was sitting with David Muir. And when asked if he would pardon his son, would you rule out a pardon for your son? Joe Biden said, yes, I would. Yeah, right. We'll see. Maybe because they know the outcome is already rigged. Asked if he would accept the outcome of the jury trial, he says yes, because it's already rigged. This is the point we've been making here. Some people on Fox News named Trey are making stupid points like, well, this case just shouldn't be brought because a gun charge is a ridiculous gun charge, and I'm for fairness. We say, hey, Trey, if you're for fairness, why don't you want even more charges to come then? This is nothing. This is a traffic ticket for a major homicide type of crime. So what we want is equal standards of the law, so we should actually be adding more charges, not less. So the point is, Joe Biden knows it's been rigged from the inception. They're going to trial on a gun charge because it was part of a rigged plea deal that Hunter rejected, like a moron. The plea deal was already rigged. He rejected it. They had to go forward on the charge that was in the plea. So Hunter arrives at court, 8:39 in the morning. We think mommy might be with him today. Let's see. First Lady Jill in court. Now, she flew in special from Normandy, from Paris. And here's the report on this. And that's your dollars, America. Your taxpayer dollars paying for this. She's traveling around with Secret Service in tow, flying all over the world, back here to trial for her crackhead son.
The First Lady's office only says that the First Lady is coming to Wilmington essentially for one day. I've asked for clarification to see if perhaps she could be called as a character witness. No guidance at all. We just know that she's going to be in Wilmington tomorrow. That's as far as her office would say. But it's notable that she's leaving France to come to Wilmington for a day. Then she's going back to France.
Wow.
The First Lady.
Man, it's nice to be Queen First Lady. You just get whatever you want done. And so she shows up there. Hunter needs his mommy there. Even though Hunter called her a vindictive C, very rude and misogynistic. Where is President Biden today? Well, he was this morning with Vladimir Zelensky. Biden is expected to deliver remarks later with Army Rangers. And then I think he's going later today to a fundraising event with George Clooney. So the trial has started. Government prosecutors call Dr. Jason Brewer to the stand. Jason Brewer says, when he's questioned, do you promise to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but truth? I do. So he's going to come out. He's going to talk about that leather pouch that was riddled with cocaine residue. His opinion that the residue was cocaine is going to be based on examination and testing. Should be pretty simple testimony. Valerie Biden Owens, Joe's sister, and her husband spent the minutes before court starting today hand in hand. So Joe's sister and her husband were locking hands. And sometimes her husband, Jack Owens, had his arm over her shoulders. She was wearing black sunglasses inside, like she's at a funeral. Friends and family took up more than 2 rows of the courtroom gallery. They're stacking the rows. Jill Biden, Melissa Cohen Biden, who verbally assaulted our friend Garrett Ziegler, called him a Nazi, even though he's a constitutional scholar and hero. Kevin Morris, the sugar daddy for Joe. Valerie Biden Owens and Jack Owens were among those in the court. Defense lawyer Abbe Lowell walked into the courtroom. He spent a few minutes chatting with Valerie. He says, you have an amazing family. The Bidens stick together. When Hunter Biden walked in, he kissed his wife, the verbal assaulter, before heading to the defense table and sat down. Who is Jason Brewer? Well, this guy worked at the FBI lab in Quantico, Virginia for 20 years. He's a forensic examiner in the FBI's chemistry unit, these guys. He has testified about 25 times as an expert. He said he's examined thousands of items over his career. That's the person who's going to be testifying. Now, he's on the stand. He's sworn in. He starts to communicate. He says, yeah, I found a white powder in Hunter Biden's pouch. I wonder if it was the same variety that they found in the White House. And it tested positive for cocaine. So Judge Norica qualifies Brewer as an expert. Then Leo Weiss handed him the brown leather patch. Is this the pouch you confirmed that you examined? He says, yeah, this is the one. Can you tell me what you found when you did your examination? He says, I found a minimal amount of white powder, both in and on the pouch. Is there a test that can help you determine, Mr. Forensic Person, that when a drug was placed on an item or who had placed it there? Can you tell me who put it there? Does your machine tell you that? No, there's not. We can't tell how it got there. We can just examine what it is, and we put it through our analysis and determine what it is to specify. Weiss introduced photos into evidence that showed a zoomed in view of the trace amounts of the white powder. Did you take this photo? Yes, I did. What does it show? Well, that's zoomed in at 100x. And Brewer then explained to the jury about the two different tests that he ran on the powder to determine what it was. So I took a sample with a swab, I put it in my analysis in my tube, and so I came out and spit it, and gas chromatography and mass spectrometry came out and said, cocaine was identified within the residual white powder that I sampled. Gasps in the courtroom. Oh, probably not. Everybody knows he's a crackhead cocaine. You're like, yeah, that's what we thought. Everybody's like, yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, he's Hunter. Okay, so what else would it be? Like pixie dust or something? No, it's obviously cocaine. So a forensic chemist says lab tests were done years after the gun incident. So then the defense lawyer comes out. He's like, so you did the test? Yeah. And when did you do the test? Like, I don't know, 2023. Oh, so you found the gun in 2018, but then you got it in 2023. Oh, so he says, okay, he conducted the cross-examination. This is the first one that Abbe Lowell didn't do. Kolansky tried to convey 2 points. He says, there's basically nothing on there. So how much was it? He says, oh, not much. Just a small amount. So it was minimal. Yeah, it was minimal. I mean, it was like a whole, brick of Coke or anything. No, it was residue on the pouch. And the first lab test was done in October 2023. 5 years? He said, oh, so it was on there for 5 years, just baking in there or something? Incident after the charges had been filed in this case. Brewer confirmed that no test had been done before October 2023 to my knowledge. Oh, so you can't date when the residue got there, right? Or you can't date who put it there, can you? No, I can't. No, I can't. And there's also some chain of custody issues. Remember that when we transfer evidence, it has to be documented from who it goes to whom. So from A to B, from B to C, from C to D, we have to have chronology and documentation to show the transfers. So he says, well, what is this for? He says it came in strictly for chemistry exams. That's what my work order was. Set of the patch. Admitting, no, I didn't do any DNA and I didn't do any fingerprint testing on the pouch either. He said, so he could not identify when the cocaine residue got into the pouch, who put it there, or how long it had been there. So maybe, in other words, the Coke was there before Hunter even got it, before it was in the possession, or maybe it was after it was thrown into the trash can. Maybe there's other cocaine in the trash can. Maybe the guy who fished it out of the trash can had some cocaine on his person or at his house. So the cocaine has nothing to do with it, even though Hunter is basically emanating cocaine from his pores, sitting there on the defense table. Prosecution then finishes with the forensic examiner. Next witness comes out is Joshua Romig. He's from the DEA. Mr. Romig, you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, upside God? I do. Can you tell us about your experience as a DEA? Yeah, I'm a bureaucrat at the DEA. Investigate a bunch of stuff that's mostly not important. What are your experiences with drug investigations? He says, well, they're pretty much all I've done for the last quarter century. Yeah. He says, I've had a career investigating drug cases. First for the Baltimore Police Department, now at the DEA. We want to target the high-level drug traffickers at the DEA. I'm sure they do. And they continue. They ask him about the difference between crack and cocaine. Can you tell us the difference between these two? He says, sure, yeah, crack is a more easily smokable form of cocaine, explaining that crack is actually more pure than powder cocaine because the cooking process removes any of the cutting agents the dealers may have added to increase the bulk of the cocaine. So we're refining it a bit and smoking it. Wow. He says, well, you're familiar. You've done these investigations for 25, 30 years. And you know how drug dealers use coded language, don't they? Yes, they do. Now, I want to ask you about this coded language. When Hunter was using this phrase in this text message that you recognize, you see, yes, I'm part of my map. He says the phrase baby powder. What does that mean in drug terminology? He said, well, generally when crackheads are referring to baby powder, they're using a rudimentary, pretty standard cocaine code. Pretty standard cocaine code. And what does party favor mean? DEA says generally it means drugs. So he finished it up with Romig. He's showing him various text messages of Hunter. Does that sound like crack to you? Yeah. Hey, here's a photo, Mr. DEA. Does that look like crack to you? Yeah. Here's a video of Hunter smoking crack. Does it look like he's smoking crack to you? Yeah. He identified crack pipes, crack cocaine, scales in the photo, videos. Does that look like about a pound of coke there? Yeah, pretty much. Romig has provided lots of explanations to the jury on the drug terms and what's exactly in the photos. In one of the text and evidence, the word fentanyl comes up. What does fentanyl mean? Hines asked what that meant. Romig said it's a reference to fentanyl, the most dangerous drug in America today, which is absolutely true, no joke. So that all comes out, and now we get more testimony. I want to ask you about this message referring to $600 for 10 grams of crack cocaine. Is that market rate? He said Hunter texted a picture of a white substance on a scale. He said, under any value known to any market in the world, what I paid is 60% greater, says Hunter. You ripped me off. Clearly upset that the amount is much less than he paid for, says Romig. Yeah, he wanted more crack. He says $600 for 10 grams is pretty significantly higher than the fair market value. He's like, Hunter got ripped off. He said sellers 100% size up what buyers are willing to pay. So it depends how cracked out they are. How bad do you want this, man? Romig also told the court that he's been watching the proceedings from the overflow room, and he's been listening to the other prosecution witnesses who've testified about Hunter Biden's drug use. And because he's an expert witness, we give them a little bit more leeway because they're going to comment on some of the evidence. So he's there. We also, I comment on that because often we talk about the rule of preclusion, which precludes other lay witnesses. DEA agent acknowledges and we do that because he's only commenting to some technical components and he's been qualified as an expert, whereas other witnesses have not. DEA agent acknowledges he's not involved in this case. So Abbe Lowell then hops up with cross-examination and he asks him, he says, well, I'd like, if I can, in the time I'm here to talk about this case and not just generalities. You don't know anything about this case, do you? You're just here talking about general drug terms and stuff. This was about Prosecutor Hines, who just brought him in to talk about drug use in America. Romig said, well, nothing I've reviewed would indicate that Hunter was a distributor of drugs. No way. Are you kidding? Not giving that stuff out. Are you nuts? It's for him. He's a pure consumer. He wasn't cooking it himself. I didn't look into anybody in this investigation. I did not do anything as a DEA agent regarding this case. He's solely as an expert to comment on the evidence, didn't actually to interpret the evidence for the jurors. This is a crack pipe. How do I know? 25 years DEA experience. Did I go take a picture of that crack pipe? No. Did I go invest? No, I didn't. But this is what I know based on my experience. So the prosecution now rests. Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Romig. No further questions. The prosecution has rested the gun trial, 10:39 a.m. We take our 15-minute morning break, but we fast forward. Now, looks like they called Naomi Biden. Wow. So let's see here. We just did a refresh. We got some more updates in real time. And so Jason Turner, they called. Naomi Biden arrives in court. Now the defense calls another gun. Okay, so here we go. Prosecution rests. So they just gave us a big fat refresh. Apologies for all the scrolling. Prosecution rests their case, but we continue now. And Abbe Lowell for the defense calls the first two witnesses, reveals who they will be. First witness is Jason Turner, a one-time employee at the gun shop in Wilmington, Delaware, who was involved in selling Hunter the gun. The second witness is going to be the owner of the gun shop and the survival supply. So they're going to try to put these two guys on trial, make them the bad guys. Oh, so you didn't follow your instructions. You should have told Hunter this. You basically Me Too'd him into purchasing the gun. You took his hand out, you put yours into his hand, and you made him squeeze it, didn't you? And you said, you're going to like it, Hunter. And he says, I guess I'll buy it. So James Biden now shows up, the other bagman for the Biden crime family. Uncle of Hunter and brother of President Biden has arrived at the courthouse. Now the defense case starts. Abbe Lowell made an oral motion for a judgment of acquittal. He came out, Your Honor, this is ridiculous. They haven't presented any evidence by which a jury can conclude that my client is guilty. The standard has not been met. And so you should find my client acquitted based on the sham evidence that's been presented here today, and says it hasn't been enough. Listing as his reasons, he says it's all unconstitutional. Second Amendment guarantees the right to bear arms. This law is unconstitutional as charged. 3 reasons why. And he says the Supreme Court's also going to make a ruling on this, and this could undermine the entire statute. And so this entire case should be thrown out right now immediately. Judge says, no, I'm not going to do that. So the judge says, thank you. No. Moving on. Please call your first witness. They did. Your Honor, Abbe Lowell says, we call Jason Turner, the StarQuest Shooters employee who handled the background check on the ATF form, to the stand. He takes the bench at 11:12 in the morning. Testimony continues. Here is a thread from Naomi Biden. She posted that September 2023. Okay, so here we go. Naomi Biden, Hunter's eldest daughter, shows up. She's going to testify. She's spoken out in defense of her father before, says he's a man of love, integrity, and human struggles when he's not backhanding prostitutes in Russia, from Russia. In a series of social media posts before the 2020 election, when his name was in the news, she said, the pain he's endured would be enough to make a lesser man give up on life. Oh, gosh. Get a room. Maybe they have. Employees of gun store who ran Hunter Biden's background check is now on the stand. Jason Turner said that the responsibilities at the gun store, he's on the stand. He says, yeah, I was the key holder. That's what I did. I ran the NICS system and I sold the firearms. Question, did you realize Hunter was in the store? Did you realize it was Hunter Biden? He says, no, I didn't realize it was him until the background check was brought to him in the back office. He says, Hunter Biden's here. Wow, interesting. Yeah, let me do the check. When Cleveland brought Turner the paperwork, it was an ATF form that had yet to be signed by Hunter, and they brought a copy of Hunter's passport. So yeah, I was in the back. So they brought me the form. They brought me his passport. I was going to start doing it. Turner said he wouldn't have logged into the NICS system unless he reviewed the form that was fully filled out first. So when he saw it was not, he took the copy and the passport back to the sales counter and he explained to Gordon Cleveland what else was needed. I said, no. You're missing, and they're very strict about this. If you ever purchased a firearm and filled out this form, they do not play around. I've been at some locations where they'll even, if you like blend your letters together, like your text needs to be extremely explicit. For those of you who never filled out this form, I was at one up in Prescott, Arizona, and I like bled the R and the O were like too close together. He's like, they're touching. So can you do it again? I'm like, are you serious, dude? He's like, yeah, sorry. So they made me do it again. They're very, very strict on this form. It's their license, and it's very important. So he comes back out. He checks it. When he saw it was not, he took the form back to the sales counter. He says, you're missing the supplemental ID and the signature. So you got to fill it out. Turner then testified he never during this interaction spoke to Hunter himself. He says, nope, I just went back up to Gordon, the guy who was handling the interaction, told him, can't access it. You're missing this and this. Fill it out. As he questioned Turner, Lowell asked what alternate form of ID Hunter provided to complete the background check. This was needed because passports don't have a home address, which is required. So Biden went out and provided a car registration, Turner said. Wow, it really feels like Hunter was forced into this. Like he was dragged around and made to buy this gun like a Me Too victim. So he walked out. He's like, what else do you need? Car registration? Sure, let me go get it. Lowell then highlighted a box on Biden's 4473 form where any alternate form of ID provided is supposed to be entered. That box is blank. When I wrote that out, I wrote car registration, Turner said. Car registration Well, where is it? Where is the car registration? He says, it's not there, an exasperated Turner said. The smoking gun. We're missing the car registration. Oh, so you completed the form, but you're missing part of the record. So you didn't complete it out appropriately, did you? Turner generally seemed annoyed during his time on the stand. He was talking over Lowell. He was providing snarky responses. Lowell then drilled down on a 16-minute gap between the time that Hunter's background check was completed when the final sale was processed. So he recreates the entire timeline. You're trying to set a time frame, and that's not going to happen, Turner told Lowell, accusing the defense attorney of not understanding how gun life is. He's like, how gun shop life is. You've probably never been in one. But I can't tell you exactly when that happened or exactly when that happened because it's just kind of an ebb and flow. There's people coming. It's like, when did you get your order from a restaurant? Like, you can't explain exactly when it's going to be or what happened. It's ebb and flow of a gun store. It's busy. He's not the only customer there. When Lowell asked him to walk through all of his actions after running the background check, Turner said he filled out the form with the rest of the information, which can only be filled out after the background check is run. He says, okay, well, there's your 16 minutes. That's 16 minutes. That's what happened there. I write slow. I was writing. As Lowell continued, the defense attorney, to ask Turner to walk through the timeline of the sale, Turner grew frustrated at the repetitive questions, and he burst out. He says, I put on my ritual robes, and I went and I sat in a marble room. Like you're a moron. Yeah, my ritual robes, and I sat in a marble room. That's what I did. Is that what you want to hear? When the prosecution started its cross-examination, Leo Weiss asked Turner to confirm he's there under subpoena. So you don't want to be here, right? Right. You're here under the defense subpoena? Right. They made you be here? Right. Turner confirmed and said, that's a whole mess of stuff right there. Yeah, I don't want to be involved in this. Complaining the defense team couldn't be on time for anything. Says, I tried to cooperate with them, but they couldn't be on time for anything. Weiss asked Turner if he's spoken or met with the defense today. He's like, I tried. They wanted me to, but they weren't on time for anything. He says, I should be sleeping right now because I work nights and I'm here having to defend this lying crackhead. All right, Turner's on the stand. Shout out to Turner. Then he's now off. They bring out Ron Palimere. He's on the stand. He's been the owner of Star Quest Shooters for 12 years. So they bring the gun store owner in. He says, well, my responsibilities, general operations, sales, ordering products, all sorts of stuff. I never actually do the sales, though. Well, what were you doing on October 12th? Well, I was in and out of the store. When Hunter entered the store, he said that he was next door at another business that he also owned at the time. So I was called over. Someone came over and got me. Anytime there were certain celebrities, I'll call them, and they called me over. So when he returned to the store, he went through the back door and did not see Hunter Biden at any point. Hey, man, we got Hunter Biden here, like the vice president's son, trying to buy a gun. You want to come check it out? He did interact with Jason Turner, though, and Gordon Cleveland. He says, what? He was here? Cleveland came back. There was a discussion of whether it was okay to use Hunter's passport as a form of ID. They asked me if it was okay. He said he was trying to get the sale finished and didn't think much of his decision to allow the use of the passport. I was trying not to hold the sale up. Why we had the passport on. We were wondering about that on Locals. Why was he carrying his passport around? That's kind of, I don't carry my passport around with myself to go show ID. I have an ID card for that. So you have Naomi Biden. Now is the next witness. Daddy calls daughter to defend him. The eldest daughter, Naomi Biden, has now taken the witness stand. She began her testimony. She says, I'm Naomi, the daughter, including where she lives, her job, education, family. She's the daughter of Hunter and Kathleen. Lowell asked if she had any siblings as well. Yeah, 2 sisters and a brother who I love. She answers the questions quietly. She testified that she visited with her dad and with her now husband, Peter, in the summer of 2018. Her dad was in rehab. She met her dad at a coffee shop. They had lunch where they met his sober coach. Hunter Biden's lawyer, Abbe, asked for the name of the rehab facility. She couldn't immediately recall it, prompting Lowell to ask if it was called The View. Yeah, it was. Sorry, I'm nervous. After visiting her father in California, Naomi said that she sent him a text saying, I was so proud of you, and proud that she was able to introduce him to Peter, her new husband. Hunter could be seen swiping away tears as his daughter testified, the most emotion he's shown publicly throughout this trial. Oh, that's so poetic. Give him an Oscar. Naomi says her dad seemed hopeful in October 2018, he was trying to sober up. He was doing great. At some point at the end of 2018, the month he bought the gun, Naomi and her then boyfriend took her dad's truck, which is in D.C. at the time, up to New York. They were moving in together. At some point, her father drove up to New York to visit her and get the truck back. So Hunter came back to come get his car. Naomi testified that her dad seemed hopeful when she saw him in New York in October, the month he bought the gun. After their visit, they switched cars. Hunter took his truck back and his daughter kept Joe Biden's Cadillac. She testified that at the time she borrowed the truck, the interior was in good condition, wasn't messy at all. No, I didn't see crack anywhere. Was there any paraphernalia strewn about the Cadillac when you used it? Drugs? No. The car was in good condition. There was no laundry or trash in the car. He got it detailed. And after visiting her father, Hunter, in California, Naomi says she sent him a text saying she was so proud of him and proud that he was able to introduce him. She was able to introduce him to Peter. As far as you know, he went back to rehab after that. Naomi says, yeah. There's Naomi and her husband, Peter. And now asks her about the drug use. When did you first become aware that your dad was struggling with addiction, Naomi? She says, I knew he was struggling with addiction after my uncle died, brother. Things got bad. I can relate to that. I can totally relate to that in my own experience. So I can understand that. Wise appeared to call into question whether Naomi could definitively say her father was using drugs at any particular time, specifically October 2018. She explained that in the broader time period that included that year, she understood that he was struggling with addiction. Now, you never saw him where he was using, right? Wise asked in several ways before Naomi Biden eventually said, no, I never saw him use, which is kind of a weird question to draw out from a government prosecutor. Asked if she would recognize whether he was using or not, she said, I don't know. I don't even know. When he was using, it's fair to say you wouldn't know what that looks like then. I guess not. So there you go. That's why, because he wanted to clear that out. So you couldn't tell either way, right? No, I guess not. So maybe he was using and you just didn't know. Yeah, maybe. Okay, so that's the new couple, and testimony continues. Leah Weiss is now also questioning, so this is on cross, about text messages that she exchanged with Hunter. Oh, you want to talk about some text messages, huh? How about this trip that he was taking to New York? Now, the messages ultimately did not get entered into evidence, but they did offer to refresh Naomi's memory. Wise asked her if she remembered receiving a text from her dad shortly before midnight on October 17th, asking if she's awake. Hunter says, hey, daughter, you awake? Late. She didn't respond until much later, closer to 2 a.m., and said she had fallen asleep earlier. Hunter then responded, asking if her now husband, Peter, could bring the truck back to 57th and 5th to swap cars. What on earth? Why? At 2 in the morning? Why do you need to swap cars at 2 in the morning? Nothing good happens at 2 in the morning. Mama taught you that. That's what the timestamp says, she says, but I don't recall it being that late. Do you know what your father was doing at 2 o'clock in the morning and why he was asking for the car then? No, I don't. I don't remember any specific messages except that they exchanged cars with her dad and he still seemed good and I was hopeful. So after Hunter's 2 a.m. text asking for the truck, Naomi replied, right now? Like now? For what? He didn't respond after that. Yeah, wonder why. So testimony continues. Hunter Biden apologized to his daughter that he was so unreachable. Then on the afternoon of October 18th, Naomi told her father that she was in Brooklyn, but Peter could bring the car to him to swap. She also texted her dad, asking if she would see him before he left and added a sad face emoji. Am I going to see you before you go? I'm really sorry, Dad. I can't take this. I don't know what to say. I just miss you and want to hang out with you, she texted her father. Terrible. According to Wise, Hunter said, I'm sorry I've been so unreachable. It's not fair to you. Asked if she knew why he was so unreachable. Why was he missing? Do you know? No. Did he say? No. Did he tell you he was meeting with someone named Frankie? No. Did he tell you he had given Frankie an access code to his Wells Fargo account? No. Frankie's the name that Zoe Keaston gave for a drug dealer that met Hunter at the Four Seasons Hotel in New York while the two of them were staying there in the winter of 2018. Testimony continues. Naomi is now done. She hugs her father, Hunter. The court breaks for lunch. It's a quick hug. And Sarah tells us it's just a quick hug and not the regular big Biden family embraces that we've been seeing up until now. Thank you for that commentary, Sarah Fitzpatrick. Beautiful, beautiful writing. She appeared to wipe away a tear as she walked down the aisle of the courtroom, down with her husband. In the hallway, she wore big sunglasses. At one point, she exchanged a hug with a family friend. Now, normally when the court goes to break, there are big hugs and fist bumps and high fives and laughter among the Biden family and supporters. But following Naomi's testimony, they didn't do that. Everyone seemed silent and they had serious faces. Okay, great. So Naomi said she's never used drugs. Before she left the stand, she got asked by Leo Weiss whether she'd ever seen any drug paraphernalia or remnants in her father's Ford Raptor. Did you ever see anything? No. You put any drug paraphernalia in the truck? Did you put anything in the truck? No. Have you yourself ever used drugs? No. Everybody was very uncomfortable. Grandma Jill Biden squirreling in her seat, getting a little bit nervous over there. And the court now breaks for lunch. And so, big updates there in the Biden trial. Naomi takes the stand, and the defense is trying to claw together a victory. We'll see if the jurors buy it. But what we saw today was more evidence from the DEA agent and from the forensic examiner that there was cocaine. Sounds like in the pouch, on the pouch. And the DEA agent confirmed for us, yeah, that's a crack pipe. Yep, that's crack cocaine. Yeah, that's Hunter. Those are his nipples. That's his thing. And a bunch of other problems that now are in evidence for the jury to consider. The question is, will it be enough? There's a mother load of evidence, but it's Delaware. And the Biden family is sitting there eyeballing the jurors every single day, warning them non-verbally about what might happen if things don't go their way. Joe Biden says he's not going to pardon Hunter, maybe because it's a foregone conclusion. Time will tell. We'll see what's happening here, but this is only the beginning for the lawfare battles that are happening in this country. Biden's trial here is rigged. We'll see if there is more coming his way now that Congress has sent over a criminal referral. Time will tell. If you like this video, would love it if you subscribed and liked our channel. Be great to have you back here. We got another awesome segment coming up right now talking about Fani Willis, Cassidy Hutchinson, and the TDS Spice Girl, Alyssa Farrah. We'll see you over there on that one right now. All right, my friends, and now let's jump into it because it's Fani time. We're turning our attention over to Georgia and the January 6th case together. And so let's get into it. Fani Willis, Cassidy Hutchinson, Spice Girl, TDSer, Alyssa Farrah, all colluding. We already knew this was happening, but now Congress is inquiring and digging in further. We have Representative Barry Loudermilk with this press release calling on Fulton County DA Fani Willis to give us the goods. What did Fani say when she was talking with Cassidy Hutchinson? And you remember Cassidy Hutchinson, known here lovingly as Clavicle Girl. She is the woman whose story changed and on the fourth time, I believe it was, that she met with Liz Cheney. And she told us that Trump reached into the car of the beast, tried to grab the clavicle of the driver of the car to take him over to the January 6th event at the Capitol. Turns out that was not true. Other people never heard anything like that. The people who were in the car said that never happened. And so now she has been promoted, paraded around like a hero of the left, almost a caricature, this role model, this figure, even though the whole thing is fake. So Loudermilk now wants to dig into this because apparently Fani Willis was also involved in this scam. He's now requesting that DA Fani disclose communications with Cassidy. Individuals from the Fulton County DA's office reached out to Hutchinson's mother as well. We now know that they got information that the DA's office attempted to contact Cassidy to get her testimony in the Fani Rico case. They even called her mama. And the story is that they discovered a letter from Willis to the Select Committee in 2021. That's Liz Cheney's committee. Willis requested access to a bunch of other records as they investigated their case. There were multiple phone calls with Fani's office and the J6 committee, but Cheney and Thompson failed to properly archive any of these records, which should be criminal. It should be the destruction of business records, the destruction of congressional records, the destruction of government archives. The subcommittee must now audit all potential collusion between these two, and so they are digging into it now. Cassidy Hutchinson, the subject of this investigation, and she's not alone. The other TDS Spice Girl, this woman here, Alyssa Farrah Griffin, also is getting a letter inquiring about her role in the investigations now that she has become a useful tool of the left as well. So here is what the letter looks like. This is from Representative Barry Loudermilk, Subcommittee on Oversight from Congress, going over to Fani Willis. Her case is now on hold. Sorry, Fani. Trial's not going before the election. May not even be going after the election if she is booted from the case, as she should have been from the beginning. For some reason, McAfee couldn't find the stones to do the right legal thing, but here we are. So now Fani is getting these letters from Congress. It says, "Dear Miss Willis, Big Fani, I write to you today to request your cooperation to determine what happened with the security failures on J6. Now, we've received information that leads us to believe that you, Big Fani, interviewed Clavicle Girl Cassidy. She provided testimony to Liz in the J6 committee, and what we've learned is that the testimony provided by Cassidy in the course of your investigation, Fani, is relevant to our investigation, and so we needed information. Now, I have jurisdiction over this and over the safety and security of the Capitol. It's been made evident to us that the select committee from Liz, who should be prosecuted for this destruction of evidence, failed to turn over all their records related to their investigation. House rules require them to do it. They didn't. They put it in the shredder after they sent it to the White House. Further, as the subcommittee continues our investigation, we must assess the truthfulness of the testimony that the select committee relied on during their investigation, which includes Cassidy's testimony. It's therefore imperative that we review any records in Fulton County's possession that were acquired from Hutchinson and from the J6 Select Committee. So as part of our investigation, this is the bombshell. We've discovered a letter from you, Fani, in your capacity as the DA, to Liz Cheney from December 2021. In this letter, Liz is like, I thought we deleted those. In this letter, you requested access to any select committee records relevant to your office's investigation of Trump and 2020. You also wanted recordings and transcripts of witness interviews and depots and electronic and print records and records of travel. You wanted everything. Politico also reported that your staff at your office met with and had multiple calls with the J6 committee as well. And in the J6 committee's final report, they also confirmed their close relationship with your office, Fani, and they wrote that they are, quote, aware that both the U.S. DOJ and the Fulton County DA's office have already obtained information relevant to these matters, including from the J6 committee directly. And so now Loudermilk wants to know where those records are. Says, I now seek the same cooperation from you since you worked with their committee. Hopefully you're working with ours, Big Fani. We'll see. We've obtained evidence that your office made numerous attempts to reach out to Cassidy Hutchinson. Specifically, individuals from your office also contacted Cassidy's mama. The subcommittee is evaluating the reliability of her testimony, which was heavily relied on by the select committee, and findings related to the Capitol. It's crucial for us to review these documents that have come from Hutchinson. And so accordingly, I ask you to respond 13 days from now. Did anyone affiliated with the Fulton County, your office, Fani, including Nathan Wade, who's no longer there, did they communicate with Ms. Hutchinson at any time between J1 2021 and June 5 2024? Answer, yes or no. If the answer to the question is yes, give me the names of the individuals who talked to her and the dates. And additionally, please provide my staff copies of the communications to aid in our investigation. If you have any questions, let me know. Sincerely, Barry Loudermilk, chairman, Oversight Committee. So House Oversight on House Administration. So nice letter to Clavicle Girl, but she's not alone. Alyssa Farrah, who was the press secretary for Mike Pence. You've seen her on The View a bunch and elsewhere. She flipped. She decided it was going to be very profitable to be on the anti-Trump train. So after J6, she became BFFs with Liz Cheney, jumped on, and now makes a career out of it. So yeah, so now during her testimony, Cassidy Hutchinson claimed that Griffin agreed to act as her back channel. So they're all working together, right? All these TDS Spice Girls are all texting each other in their group chats with their emojis and whatever. So Griffin joined CNN in 2021 after J6 as a contributor, and she's been now a permanent co-host of The View, where she just rips on Trump. She's made a whole career about it. So, all right, so that's who she is. Now, she also, part of this scam, gets a letter from Barry Loudermilk. Same basic premise here. But let's see what they talk about here. Now, it's imperative, Miss Farrah, that we learn about what happened here. Now, according to public reports and numerous sit-down interviews, Cassidy Hutchinson, Clavicle Girl, she wrote a memoir. She wrote this book called Enough. So apparently you spoke to her about her testimony at the J6 committee, and a review of the documents that were provided by the select committee resulted in questions about the truth of her testimony. She specifically cites her conversations with you as one reason that her story changed so dramatically. So remember, Liz Cheney met with Cassidy Hutchinson. I believe the story is 4 times. The first 3 times, we never had this attack story, never came out. Then, the 4th time, suddenly, there's an attack that happened. Liz Cheney called an emergency book report session, and the media came out, and she stood up there in her white clothes, took an oath, and said, Trump attacked me. Trump attacked the driver in the clavicle. How'd that happen? For example, in her book, Enough, Miss Hutchinson claims that you, Griffin, you talked over her options and you agreed to contact Liz Cheney on her behalf about scheduling another interview. She then talked about in her book that during this conversation, she shared that the J6 committee, quote, never asked if she went to the Oval Office or the dining room on J6 or whether she heard about Trump's reaction to the rioters. According to Mark Meadows, Trump said, quote, he deserves it. That's from your book, Cassidy. These stories Cassidy has later claimed to have been privy to were never discussed prior to this meeting at your Georgetown row house. There are no text, emails, verbal exchanges that have ever been verified where Ms. Hutchinson discussed these explosive claims apart from your conversation before testifying to the committee. So there's no corroborating evidence at all. And so therefore, Alyssa, we want to know if it's true. And so due to your proximity and your influence, apparently she changed her whole story after she talked to you. You're going to facilitate this communication. Her testimony changed so drastically, we'd like to confirm that it's true. I believe that you may have important information. So to aid in our investigation, I'd like the following. First of all communications between you and Liz Cheney from June 3rd, 30th to June 4th over 3 years. We want all communications with you, Spice Girl Alyssa, from the special agent to the president, legislative affairs, Cassidy Hutchinson as well. We want to know what you said to Mark Meadows. We want to know what you said to Tony Ornato. This is the guy who rebuts Cassidy's claims. We want to also talk to the White House counsel, Pat Cipollone, or know what you talked to him about. How about Bobby Engel, another Secret Service agent who denies Hutchinson's story? So if you talk to these people, then you would know that her story is BS. So why'd you encourage her to then make it? We want communications with any Secret Service people for Mark Meadows or Trump, copies of all your phone logs from these periods. We want your calendars maintained. We want your references to Cassidy Hutchinson. If you ever mentioned her at all, we want to know about it. If you mentioned it about her employment, we want to talk about her public and private testimony. If you ever mentioned J6, all communications about the 25th Amendment. This is a long list. Anything referencing her book, Cassidy's book, If you ever talk to Fani's office, if you ever talk to Fani's representatives, we want any information from the Select Committee, the DOJ, any congressional or law enforcement interview at all. We want everything. If you even thought about Cassidy, we want to know. Additionally, the subcommittee requests that you make yourself available, Alyssa, for a transcribed interview at our office in D.C. I ask that you contact my office to arrange a mutually agreeable date and time and give us all these details by June 18th. We thank you for your cooperation. Sincerely, your friend, Barry Loudermilk. Woo, good. Good. So if the Democrat Congress and Liz Cheney and Benny Thompson and Shifty Schiff and Kinzinger and the rest of them, if they can throw their weight around and send letters like this, which they did, Benny Thompson sent letters that were 15, 20 pages like this. Endlessly. We covered and read through many of them here. Republicans can do it too. Go after these people who colluded to create fake stories and fake lies to sell their political narrative to the rest of us. So great stuff from Representative Barry Loudermilk calling on massive disclosures from Fani, from Cassidy, from Alyssa. And if they get it, hopefully they do, I believe we'll see more evidence of this collusion. Why did they delete the records before they left, before they handed control back over to the Republicans? Because they didn't want us to see how they were recreating their fictional narrative. So more will be revealed. Thankfully, we have a few Republicans like Loudermilk who are continuing to dig into this. Truth will continue to come out. We'll be here continuing to cover it. Thank you for subscribing, my friends, and liking this video wherever it is you're watching it. Really appreciate you sharing it with a friend or family member. If you enjoyed this segment, we got a great segment coming up now. We're going over to Florida in our next video, and we're going to see what Jim Jordan says. He's demanding Jay Bratt, the Florida Oompa Loompa, come in and testify. So we're going to check that one out. I hope you join us in our next segment. We'll see you right over there. All right, my friends, let's go there. Let's go to Florida and see what is happening, because Jay Bratt is getting a very interesting letter, and he's also under fire. Yes. Okay. So you know who Jay Bratt is. The Florida classified documents case now under more scrutiny from Congress. The Florida Oompa Loompa, Jay Bratt, a key prosecutor on Jack Smith's team. You know what he looks like. This fella right here usually likes to hide in the shadows or behind small desks, but he is now under scrutiny from Jim Jordan. The Judiciary Committee is demanding an interview with him. This is the same guy that's been involved in a lot of problematic, unethical misconduct, including threatening a defense lawyer with losing a potential judgeship unless his client flips on Trump. That's Stanley Woodward, who's representing Walt Nauta, and all sorts of improper pressure coming out from Jack Smith, who's also illegally appointed, by the way. But the judiciary says, all right, enough's already. They dropped this one on June 6th from the Committee on the Judiciary. This one goes directly to Jay Bratt. They're not sending this one to Garland. It's not going to Jack Smith. It's not going to anybody else. It's going to Jay Bratt, who is a real big problem in our justice system because he's made it his mission, in my opinion, to take Trump out. We've been watching this for years. So here is what Jim Jordan sent over to Jay Bratt, the Florida Oompa Loompa. You can see Jim is writing that. He says, all right, dear Mr. Bratt, our committee is investigating Biden. We have a right to conduct oversight. And in particular, we have some concerns that Biden is prosecuting his opponent, Trump. Now, as a counselor to Jack Smith, Jay, you've been closely involved in a lot of this, and defense attorneys and other unsealed documents have shown us some pretty big problems with your conduct. You, Jay, have engaged in a series of improper actions and unethical conduct that violate the DOJ's duty to impartial justice. We've raised these concerns with the Department of Justice, Jack Smith, and the Office of Professional Responsibility to no avail. And so accordingly, we are compelled to write you directly to request your voluntary cooperation with our constitutional oversight. So Jay Bratt's, obviously, we've seen this pattern before. Jay Bratt's going to say no. And we'll have 2 or 3 more letters like this, but then we get to the subpoenas. And then the question will become, will they deny the subpoena and end up in jail like Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro? On August 8th, the FBI conducted an unprecedented raid on Trump's residence at Mar-a-Lago. Now, despite numerous presidents and other vice presidents, even Joe Biden, despite them leaving the White House with documents that have been marked classified, including Joe Biden, no Justice Department attorney or law enforcement agent has ever previously authorized the search of a former president or vice president's home. Never happened. Information obtained by the committee suggests this raid departed from your standard practices. Former Assistant Director in charge of the FBI field office, Stephen D'Antonio, informed the committee in a transcribed interview that he had serious reservations with the policy of pursuing the raid. He observed several unusual features in the handling of the case. An FBI agent himself, Stephen D'Antonio. Specifically, D'Antonio was concerned about several things, 4 of them. 1, that the field office did not conduct the search of Trump's home, which had jurisdiction and over the location. So why didn't Miami handle it? Why did DC handle it? Well, Miami's not corrupt, let's say, as the DC people. The department did not assign a U.S. attorney to the investigation, but rather assigned you, Jay Bratt, as the lead prosecutor on the case. So it's not an office, it's just kind of you, Jay. Why not the office? Why you? The FBI never, ever sought Trump's consent to search his residence, didn't give him the benefit of a doubt, just treated him like a common drug criminal. And the FBI did not wait for Trump's attorney to be present. They just searched it. Those are the issues raised by another FBI agent. And as the then lead prosecutor, Jay, you were responsible for the unprecedented and unusual features associated with the raid on Trump. Now, according to other reports, Jay, you also met with Biden White House officials numerous times before Jack Smith indicted Trump. Footnote 6, John Levine. Biden staffers met with Jack Smith before the Trump indictment. New York Post, August 26, 2023. In September 2021, you also met with an advisor to the White House Chief of Staff. In November, you again went to the White House to meet with the administration officials. And finally, on March 31st, only 9 weeks before the indictment, you met with this deputy chief of staff. Her name is Caroline Saba for a, quote, case-related interview. Now, the timing and circumstances of these meetings raise at least a perception of improper coordination between you and the Biden White House to investigate and prosecute Trump. So they're saying Jay Bratt and Jack Smith's office met multiple times. September, November, March. 3 times. All in the run-up to the indictment. In addition, Stanley Woodward, the lawyer representing Walt Nauta, a co-defendant in your classified documents case, accused you of improperly pressuring him by implying that the Biden administration would look more favorably on him and maybe appoint him as a judge if he had his client flip on Trump, if you just cooperated. According to the defense attorney, Jay, you advised him, you said to him in a meeting, you said, wouldn't want you to do anything to mess that up, in reference to Woodward's judgeship. He wanted to flip his client. He's a just awful human. It also seems that you attempted to retaliate against Woodward for disclosing this. You filed a motion in Mr. Nauda's case raising alleged conflicts of interest. So once he blew the whistle, he tried to get Woodward thrown off the case. You said he might have to be called at trial. You further suggested that the court should procure independent counsel to advise Woodward's clients about those conflicts. So they tried to get him conflicted off. So they threaten him. When he calls out the threat, they then try to get him off of his clients. These are your government prosecutors there in DC. Ours. There was also a reply brief stated that your intimidation threats were merely, quote, an attempt to diminish the court's authority over the proceedings. And the federal judge overseeing the prosecution was so concerned about these allegations that she twice ordered the parties on her own to explore and report to her on possible prosecutorial misconduct. That's Judge Cannon, blasting them. And finally, Jay, you also acknowledged in a May 3rd, 2024 court filing that some of the evidence in Trump's classified documents case was altered. You admitted it was altered or manipulated after the FBI seized it. And after the defense through Woodward notified the court about this, that there were discrepancies in evidence suggesting that the boxes of the documents that were produced were potentially tampered with or compromised. You admitted, Jay, that there, quote, are some boxes where the order of items within that box is not the same as the associated scans. The box documents got flipped over. And that, which is mishandling of classified documents. And this new admission is inconsistent with what the government previously reported to the court. Your manipulation of this material evidence has led some legal experts to conclude this is witness tampering. You've already manipulated the documents, mishandled them. Following your disclosure of the mishandling of the classified documents, you charged Trump with that, but then you asked the court to impose a gag order. You wanted to stop him from criticizing your raid. Now, Cannon denied your motion to suppress Trump's First Amendment rights, saying you didn't even confer with the defense. Remember, they sent an email at like 5 o'clock on a Friday night on Memorial Day weekend? The judge warned you about that before and admonished you. This is a pattern of unprofessional conduct, Jay. Legal experts have also observed that Jack's proposed gag order is unconstitutional and that Trump's comments about the FBI raid are protected speech, and Jack Smith knows that. And so this raises serious concerns, Jay. Your course of conduct continues to raise serious concerns. And we're going to fulfill our oversight duties. So here's what we want from you, Bratt. All documents and communications related to meetings between the FBI, the DOJ, all about the raid and the search warrant on Trump's residence. We want all emails and notes taken during your meetings with White House officials. We want to know everything about communications and matters relating to Mr. Woodward and what he's been working on here, and all items that you've sent to Jack Smith discussing the motion to modify and gag Trump. We want all documents about you and your course of improper conduct and unethical actions while you've been at the office of Jack Smith. And we want you to make yourself available for a transcribed interview as soon as possible. So bring your butt down and we'll see you for a depo. The committee has the authority to investigate this stuff. We're doing that now. Please respond by June 20th. We'll talk to you soon about this. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Sincerely, your friend, Jim Jordan. So another nice letter from Jim, and it is the beginning of a pattern that we see here quite regularly. It's voluntary at first. It's a second voluntary. Then it's maybe a demand. Then it's a subpoena threat. Then it's an actual subpoena. Now, the timing on this is also questionable, June 6th. Are they going to get all that done before the election? Either way, I think they can issue a subpoena, set a deadline. He doesn't show up for the subpoena. Maybe they hold him in contempt with a bunch of others. And then Trump wins and they can start prosecuting them just like they've done to Bannon, just like they've done to Navarro. So this is etching in the legal justification for ultimately putting them into a contempt trap, just like they've done with Bannon and Navarro and like they've tried to do with many others. And so we're going to continue to cover this, my friends. Thank you for being here and joining us as we do. We'll see what Jay says in response, but he's singled out now individually. It's not Merrick Garland. It's not Jack Smith. It's this sole prosecutor. And it will be curious to see if Congress holds their feet to the fire to make them respond to these requests. Thank you for joining us as this coverage continues. We'd love it if you subscribed. Thanks for liking this video. Thanks for sharing it with a friend or family member. And coming up next, we are talking about how all of this lawfare is backfiring big time. Trump shattering fundraising records and raking in the donos as the American people realize this is not what we want to see in our country. So we'll be here, and on the next one, we'll see you over there soon. All right, my friends. Now, we got one final segment on the day. As you heard, we got some major Trump updates. Big numbers are out there for the president. Trump shatters fundraising goals. He appeared in Arizona, our backyard, and made this announcement. Over $400 million have come in. And then he left Arizona, went over to San Francisco, sat down with some of the tech bros, David Sachs, Chamath Palihapitiya and others raked in another 12 million, and the momentum seems like it just continues. We've got more reaction for the verdict fallout. The 34 felony guilty counts seems like they're backfiring on the left, and we're going to talk about it today, get reaction from a bunch of different places. But here was Trump explaining how the reaction, the momentum is only increasing in the aftermath of the verdict.
I just went through a rigged trial in New York.
That's right.
With a highly conflicted, and I mean highly conflicted, judge, where there was no crime. It was made up, fabricated stuff. They didn't want to bring the case. They could have brought the case 7 years ago. It's only when you run for office they bring cases. But they would have done that 7 years ago thing, not in the middle of my presidential campaign, where we're beating Biden, by the way, by a lot. Did you see? And by the way, right after the announcement of this, more campaign funds were given to this campaign than any campaign, they think, in history. Woo! Almost $400 million.
400 million. That's a lot.
It's never been, nobody's ever seen, because they know it was rigged. They know it's a corrupt system. They know all about it. But with your help, less than 5 months from now, and we're going, and I'll tell you what, we have to change the system. We have to straighten out what's going on in these courts. We got a rigged deal going, this whole country, and we've got to do it. And those appellate courts have to step up and straighten things out, or we're not going to have a country any longer.
Yeah, he's right. We're getting into a post-law environment. There are portions and locations in this country where the law doesn't matter. Even the White House, the law doesn't matter. Supreme Court says we can just... Biden says we can just ignore the Supreme Court, just overrule them, essentially. Where's the authority to waive student loans? Doesn't matter. We're going to do it anyway. So Trump announcing that they're doing very well. People are tired of what they're seeing. And after Trump was in Arizona, he went over to San Francisco, and the scene there was wild. Trump everywhere. Make America great again. Overflowing in San Francisco? What on earth? Republican presidential candidate Trump raised $12 million on Thursday in addition to what he said in Arizona. This came after that, two sources said, at an event hosted by two capitalists at San Francisco. We know these two, David Sachs, Chamath Palihapitiya. They do the All In podcast. Major event. Top tickets, $500,000 per couple. Sold out. Whew. It raised $12 million. San Francisco's heavily liberal, but there were a lot of people out there. Executives from crypto exchanges, Coinbase were there. Trump talked about Senator Elizabeth Warren, saying she's coming after crypto. So the crypto bros are jumping in. Nice. The crypto industry is trying to get regulated. And the Sachs and Palihapitiya have talked about their investments in crypto and Bitcoin and how this is now creating a new energy. Sachs thanked J.D. Vance, who was there. San Francisco's fertile grounds for Democrats, but Trump just went in there and cleaned up. David Sachs came out, also posted this on X. He says, why I'm backing President Trump. And people were wondering where he was going to land for a little bit because it seemed like he was floating with Kennedy. But he says, as many press accounts has reported, I'm hosting an event for Trump at my home in San Francisco. Over the last couple of years, I've hosted events for many other people, Ron, Vivek, Kennedy. I think he came out originally as a Ron guy, as well as several congressional figures. But today, I'm giving my endorsement to our 45th president, Donald J. Trump, to be our 47th president. My issues are the following. Trump can lead us back. He says the economy's in shambles. Biden took an economy that was recovering and made it worse. Did this despite the warnings. Foreign policy's been a disaster. Trump left with ISIS defeated, Abraham Accords in place. Biden has made several mistakes. Biggest blunder? Ukraine. War of attrition grinds on. He's wanting to commit us even further. Borders a disaster. Ushered in de facto open border policy. And of course, lawfare. Our main issue, a bedrock of the political stability we've enjoyed for 250 years, is now gone. Garland took a look at the J6 situation, used it as a cudgel to take out Trump. And so this is the best option that we have. People are sick of the lawfare. and they're standing up and reacting. This was a guy who was not on the team for a while. Now he is. This is Julia. Bill Barr says Trump's case is an abomination, and this whole thing is undermining the legitimacy and the credibility of our justice system. Here is Bill Barr also catching the memo.
I was surprised that they went ahead with the case because there really was nothing there. There was no crime there, and they never were able to really articulate it until after the defense rested its case.
After the,
so I thought the whole thing was a travesty. I wasn't surprised by the verdict because the way the case was conducted, there was never really any discipline on trying to make the prosecutor establish what the elements of the crime were and what evidence he had to do it. It was just assumed from the beginning that there was some kind of federal election campaign violation, which there wasn't.
They just made that up. They just said they didn't even present testimony or allow the defense to present any testimony on that. All right, let's see. I just screwed that up by scrubbing it too hard. Sometimes that happens.
And former Attorney General.
Here's Bill.
It goes all over the spectrum. But what we're seeing in somebody spoke, the prosecution in this country.
System of justice that is becoming more and more evident. But I also want to point out that what does this do to our body politic? What does this do to our country?
Brexit.
Say this case is going to be overruled because there are just multiple errors and violations of constitutional rights, which, you know, Andy McCarthy and Jonathan Turley have amply discussed on your show. This will be eventually overruled after the election. But what happens if there's a close election and Biden, squeaks through and then the case is overruled? Half the country is going to feel that this was a stolen election.
Yeah, they're stealing it right now.
And again, this is a grave
one.
Injustice and disservice to the country.
Yeah, it's not just the one case. There's 4 prosecutions happening. They tried to throw him off the ballot. They're trying to bankrupt him with civil verdicts, civil lawsuits by E. Jean Carroll. It's a never-ending onslaught. And it's nice that Bill's finally waking up about this, but other people on the Republican side are still quiet. It should be all hands on deck pounding the table. This is the end of the justice system if this stuff is allowed to stand.
Defense lawyers are absolutely correct. The whole purpose of the gag order was to protect the integrity of the process, to make sure that the trial was not disrupted by what was said. The trial is now...
That's the defense perspective, but the whole purpose of this is in a post-law America, the law doesn't matter. It's about waging war on your political enemies, and they have the tools to do it.
Over. The verdict's been delivered, and now everyone out there is talking about it, including, as you point out, Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels. And the president, like anyone else, has a right to defend himself in the court of public opinion, especially when he's running for the presidency of the United States. He has to be able to attack the charges, to assert that the witnesses against them weren't telling the truth.
Would be nice.
And point out all the flaws with the case and some of the rulings by the judge, which are inexplicable. He should be allowed to do that.
So given what you've seen on this judge, quickly if you can, Bill, what do you expect at this sentencing?
I hope that he doesn't do what they usually do, what the left usually does, which is to go too far and either deny him his freedom or impose a severe gag order on him. I think that would sort of affect people's attitude toward the fairness of the ultimate fairness of this election.
Oh man, Bill seems nervous, doesn't he? Seems like he knows where they're going on this thing. Are they going to put him in jail? Are they going to put him on home detention, home confinement? Bill's getting a little nervous. I hope they don't do it, but why wouldn't they? They've already gone this far. They're like just an inch away from total victory. Why wouldn't they seize it? The more this goes on, the more and more we get nervous that they're gonna really try to pop off on this one, but we hope they don't. So here is what this guy, Dr. Phil, said. He was hanging out with Trump, having an interview with him, and he agrees with us that this whole thing was rigged. Mercan tipped the scales of justice, all done to stop Trump. And they've been brainwashed for decades, to think that anybody who's charged with a felony, or anytime there's an officer of the law who's sitting in a courtroom and they're all pointing their fingers at a defendant and the judge is there and you're at the defendant's table, people just think instinctively, you must have done something to get here. because people have a hard time putting themselves in that person's shoes. They have a hard time believing until it happens to them. And then they come into a criminal defense attorney's office like mine, and they would say, I never thought ever that it would be me. I know, that's what everybody says. But you don't realize that you can be prosecuted for being completely innocent until, unfortunately, it's often too late. So Trump was also talking about Shifty Schiff and his watermelon head. Just no reason to really play this clip other than the fact that Adam Schiff got censured. And it's important we remember that he has a big water head. He got censured also, by the way. And he's just a terrible person inside and out, and ugly too, as the president said, just terrible. So here is Kellyanne Conway. There's a lot of reaction saying that Trump is going to go after his opponents and retribution and revenge and all this type of nonsense. But the fact is, if you've committed a crime in America, if you've conspired to rig an election, if you've entrapped people, you've created propaganda, deleted evidence, manipulated government resources in order to do illegal things, well, it's illegal. You should be prosecuted. No one's above the law in this country. They said it first. So now we don't give anybody any leeway. Now Trump, when he wins, I do hope that there are some serious changes at the DOJ, the FBI, and that the people who were responsible for undermining our judicial system are brought to justice. That's real justice in America. So Kellyanne Conway is here pushing back on some of these claims that Trump is going to be a dictator or whatever they're trying to say.
Repeat it, because this is the new narrative by all the lemmings in the mainstream media this week. Trump wants revenge and vengeance. He's the one who's had that visited upon him. And if you need any evidence, look no further than how he just stood down in any kind of prosecution of Hillary Clinton and retribution after he beat her fairly and squarely and racked up 304 electoral votes in 2016. Many people said lock her up. I think now repeat it, because this—
That's right. He didn't do anything with Hillary Clinton. He could have, and he didn't. Maybe he should have. Maybe this time he will. Now, all that being said, RNC research is coming out. They just dropped this one. Trump's looking pretty good in those polls, and here is the report.
Is one of the swing states that would go the former president's way if the election were held today. Former President Trump leads President Biden in our new polls out tonight by 5 percentage points among registered voters in a head-to-head matchup. The margin is also 5, with 3 independent candidates included. Now let's go to Nevada. The former president leads the current commander-in-chief by a similar 5-point margin. He lost that state, as you see there on the right column, in 2020. The margin continues to be 5, again, with the other independent candidates involved on that ballot.
Good over there.
The former president has erased a 10-point deficit from 2020 in the Commonwealth of Virginia. He is now tied with President Biden in what was blue Virginia. The president's lead is 1 point in Virginia when you factor in the independents in that race.
Even
President
Virginia.
Trump, in our latest poll, is ahead in Florida by 4 points. That is similar to his 2020 margin of victory in that state, and that lead expands to 7, again, when including the other candidates.
Woo! All right, so Trump is looking good across the board. Democrats in panic mode, trying to figure out what to do about this. They've indicted Trump 4 times. They've tried to take him out via lawfare, and Trump just keeps pulling ahead. $400 million has now come in since the guilty verdict. You've got guys like the tech bros jumping in on this, the crypto bros, and the power just keeps increasing. And so we're going to be here continuing to cover this, the lawfare, the election, all the litigation surrounding it. Hopefully you join us as we continue on. Would love it if you subscribe. Thank you so much for liking this video, inviting someone you know or love to come over here and check this one out. We got more great content coming up. So if you enjoyed this video, we have an update on more hot water that Biden's into. So if you missed our segment on the trial, Hallie Biden and Hunter's daughter, Naomi, testifying, we'll link that one up for you over there. And we'll see you there and back here on the next one. All right, my friends. Well, that is it for us on the day. It's a beautiful Friday. I hope your week is unfolding very, very nicely. I'm very grateful that you were here and joined us on this early stream as we got to poke around and see what's happening out there. It is now time to hear from you, and we want to see what you have to say about this. I saw some very nice comments, some amazing dono super chats all coming in. Let's say hello And we got K Beans in the house and Carrie B clipping for us today. What's up? And Donuts in the house. Man, good to see you guys. Hey, Gina Regina's here. Says, hello, everyone. Thank you, Rob, for everything. Hey, thank you, Gina Regina. 8 months as a membo. 1 more month till a baby. And look at that real handsome puppy in that photo. Good to see you, Gina. Thank you for being here. Happy Friday to you. Hopefully you're having a beautiful day and a beautiful week. We got this one from NY, who's telling us about different antivirals, mentioning some of them. Something's like, I can't even pronounce these, a flu version of some other things. Thank you, NY, for those. Michael Allen H. Been a membo for 15 months. Man, almost 2 full babies. Says, our intelligence agencies lie. Have a great weekend. Yeah, that's true. And they do it in writing. 51 of them wrote it down on a letter and then lied to us about it in public. What's up, Troublemaker Davey? What's up, Troublemaker? Says, the Watching the Watchers chat is amazing. Love the off-label pod. We have an amazing chat, no doubt. The best in the whole world and the internet and the universe. Good to see you, off-label pod, Troublemaker Davey. Thanks for sending that one in. Hey, look at this one, man. What a nice one over on YouTube from Brian C. What's up, Brian? Very nice comment. Says, Rob, great up-to-date analysis of the prosecutorial injustice and its ability to backfire. Then to Georgia with the exposure of Fani and Cassidy collusion, which may lead to a direct team being let go from Trump and associates. Imploding. Yes, and if... there's a thread here that I hope the Republicans pull very hard. Cassidy Hutchinson, Alyssa, Liz Cheney, they were colluding. They were creating a narrative. They got the guy, the movie producer. It's all fake. It's all been fake from the beginning. So that's why they deleted evidence. That's why they had to try to sell it to us 8 times. If it was a real insurrection, you wouldn't have to try to sell it to the American people. Brian, thank you for the very nice dono. I appreciate you being here. I agree with you. It feels like they are imploding. We got this old guy. Says, Rob, the reason you don't carry your postcard or maybe your passport around with you is that you don't need to be prepared to flee the country on a moment's notice. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, that's true. I'm not involved in Ukrainian arms trafficking or whatever Hunter was doing. Ukrainian energy trafficking. So I don't have to hop on a plane and get out of here. But that's a funny comment. Maybe that's why he had it. Who knows? This one from Quantum Global Broadcasting Network. Quantum Global Broadcasting Network just became a new supporter over on the YouTubes. Great to see you, Quantum. Thanks for supporting us there. We got this one, which is Membo. Hey, what's up? Tony Hay Munkets. Hey, look at this one. Hey, here's from Tony Hay. Bing! Gifted 5 Membos. Tony Hay Munkets, you rock. Tony Hay, that's from our Meme Smith Jigum Gigum. Tony Hay Munkets gifted 5 Membos. Look who's coming in. Wild Bees here. The Sentinel. We got Deanna M, Deep Surface, and James L. all gifted Membos, courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets in the house. Good to see you, Tony Hay. Hey, Stacy says, hey, thank you for the show. Thank you, Stacy. Thanks for saying that. It's beautiful to spend some time with you on this lovely Friday. We got NY says, Liz Cheney made a deal with the Democrats, take down Trump, and become anointed Republican minority in perpetuity. Yeah, she's like the token Republican who will write books, maybe run for office one day. We got Jane C. Welcome, Jane, as our new supporter on the YouTubes. Great to have you. We'll see you at our Membo-only streams. We got Maria K. says, Mima, happy birthday to you, Mima. Happy birthday, Mima. Great day to have a birthday. It's a beautiful Friday. Maria, thanks for shouting that out. Happy birthday to Mima. Good to see you, Mima. Rick D says, Rob, were you playing racquetball? That bruise looks like you didn't duck fast enough. Oh, no. We were on the mats getting into some Brazilian jiu-jitsu again. So you can see we got some little facial one right here. We got like a little red thing here. That's a little one right there. It's probably a knee on that one. I think we had some others over there. You know, first day back on the mat's rough. But we got it in. We got it done. What's up, Meme? And thanks for checking on me. Thanks for checking on me, Rick. Hey, Mima's in the house. You guys are making my day so much more better from the bottom of my heart. Thank you all so much. Mima, happy birthday to you, Mima. Great to have you here. Hopefully you're doing something fun to celebrate. I know we had a little bit of a transition earlier this week, so hopefully you're doing something enjoyable. I did get your message. It was a beautiful message. I will respond, but I'm glad you're making some good progress. We're glad you're here. Happy birthday to Mima in the house. What's up, Emil? Bringing in 5 new membos. Kata F. We got Dreama. We got Kay Christensen in the house. Sue's joining us. And Harley Girl, all in the house, joining us. What's up, Emil? We got Neuro D. Someone needs to slip Trump your name as a potential SCOTUS pick. If I'm called to serve. Chief Justice Govea has a nice ring to it. Yeah, watch out, Chief Justice Roberts. Your boy's coming in hot. We're going to get this country back on track if I'm called to serve. What's up, TX47? What would you think of RFK Jr. as the Attorney General if Trump wins? I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. What's he going to do there? I mean, there's some things he'd be good on, but then, like, I don't know what he would do for environmental policy with the AG stuff or for gun policy. Like, as the AG, his gun policy would be terrible. His enforcement of gun crimes, his enforcement of environmental policy would be terrible. I think you might have some benefits, like with the pharmaceutical companies and stuff like that, in terms of enforceability and his discretion. But generally, I think no. Rocky says, this week felt extra long after last week's holiday week. So an extra happy Friday cheers to us and ours. Thanks as always, Rob. Great stuff. Yeah, that's right. I know what you mean, Rocky. It's like you get a 4-day week and then you have a 5-day week and it feels like it's a month-long week. That one extra day feels like it's a month. I know what you mean. Good to see you, Rocky. We made it. It's Friday, my friend. Great to have you and glad you're here. Thank you, Rocky, for the lovely dono. Let's say hello to our friends on X before we go on over to Locals to hang for our members only after party for our Locals fam. Who is on X? Come on, X. Let's load up here and see who's joining us. We have a couple of comments in the house. We do. Jim, what's up? Jim is here. Says, I think the damage is done. The J6 committee got their narrative all over primetime TV to the masses. Tearing it apart now may be too little, too late. Jim says, got my tickets to see Trump this weekend here in Vegas. Can't wait. Yo, Jim, I'm going to Vegas. I might see you there. I might see you at that event. I've got an event this weekend, and I'm thinking I might dip out on the Sunday event and go check out the Trump rally. He's going to be in Vegas. It's a little far from where I'm at. It's on the other end, but I think I may go see him. We'll see. What's up? Rob says, Nathan's hot dogs. They're selling them at Walmart. They're selling Nathan's hot dogs at Walmart. Oh, gross. Polly says, I had to laugh at the image painted about how family-oriented the Bidens are, yet Joe ignores Hunter to be with his favorite son, Zelensky. Maybe he can still process the bagman deals for the big guy. P.S. How'd you get the boo-boo on your arm? Probably a knee. Yeah, it's probably a knee. I'm guessing that's a knee. We got this one. What nasty... I know. I feel like I'm watching a juicy... I know. Hey, what's up, Shakes? Thanks for that. Yeah, probably a knee. It's probably a knee right there. And hopefully next time I don't allow that to happen to myself. I have a little bit better technique, and a little bit better stamina. All right, so very fun. Okay, my friends, thank you for sending those in on X. Great to see everybody over there. We are going to wrap it up and go on over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com to hang out for a bit. We'd love to have you come on over and join us. We will put in our PDFs and all of the other good stuff at robertgovea.com. We make show reports. We turn our segments into news stories. So if you want to just read stuff, check it out on our reports page at robertgovea.com. We put the PDFs in there as well with the segments. I'm going to Vegas this weekend for an event, but then we're coming back in 3 weeks, for our meetup at Trump Hotel International Las Vegas, baby. So if you want to come join us, get your tickets June 29th. If you RSVP'd, we still need you to go back and grab a ticket. It was just to see if there was interest. There is interest. So grab a ticket. We're going to have a nice lunch. We're going to hang out. We're going to meet some amazing people. And we're going to celebrate a beautiful year. So come join us. Trump Hotel 2024, June 29th. watcherlodge.com to get those tickets. We also got, of course, our sponsors, twc.health/Robert. Get prepared, my friends, and head on over there. Links are in the description below on all those things. We want to thank our amazing mods and our meme smiths before we wrap it up here on the day and on the week. Big shout outs to K Bean, Just Cause, Playin' Hooky, Ronnie Cole, our friend Zach Nichols, Janek, Dog Digger, Economy Pilot, Donut Mind Me, Carrie B, and Zulu's in the house. Our meme smiths, Geegum Geegum, Glocky McGlock, Elliot, Nathan N810, and Sleepy Dog Lee, all memeing the place down for us, keeping things beautiful and orderly. We also had some final comments come in from Emil. Says Rob needs to run the border of Arizona. We can do that too. Got some pretty good ideas on that one too. We'll solve that real quick. What's up, Emil? Thank you for the encouragement. We could do it. We got Milo. It's not even hard. Milo Phone Bill says, Washington plot twist. Washington has a law against felons running for office. The link is from the Wayback Machine to get behind the paywall. So, yeah, so Trump can't put his name on the ballot, and they use the felony conviction to keep him off the ballots there. Now, that might run into a constitutional problem, because I think the Supreme Court just told us in Anderson that the Constitution sets those limitations, and there's nothing in there, I think, at the base layer qualifications for presidency that precludes a felon from being the president in the Constitution. So I think that would reign supreme over the Seattle law. But we'll see. Are they going to try to keep him off the ballot? Gosh, we'll see. Thanks for that Milo Phone Bill. Good stuff coming in, my friends. Thank you for those. And Leonard S. also became a supporter. Great to see you, Leonard S. We'll see you on the Membos Only streams. And it's going to be good stuff. Yeah, so my friends, the plan is I'm out of town for a bit, but we may go live on Sunday from the Trump event. We'll see. I don't know yet. I have to see how my event is going and if we can finagle the whole thing, but it could be fun. It's like, what a weird coincidence. I'll be there. He'll be there. So that'll be fun, even though he was just here in Arizona. But it's going to be a good weekend, my friends. I want to thank you for joining us. We covered a lot of stuff. We're making our way through the Hunter trial. That's going to be over starting next week. And then we'll see what else is out there to attend to. But it's been a busy week, a very fruitful week. I hope you accomplished all the things you set your mind to. You're knocking out your to-do list. Your email inbox is cleared out. That stack of mail you're working through. You're feeling accomplished, feeling like it was a successful week, and you're winding down because it is now time for the weekend. Always a good opportunity for us to unplug, recover, restore our spirits, rejuvenate our souls, get outside, spend time with our family, the people that we love, our friends, touch the grass, get some vitamin D, some beautiful sunshine, some movement, so that when we come back here on Monday, we are roaring and ready to go. We are restored, refreshed, and ready to tackle whatever the week throws at us. We can't wait to get back here to get to it. And so, my friends, I hope you are getting out there, getting after it, making it a great and beautiful weekend. Because when we come back on Monday, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night and an amazing weekend, my friends. I'll see you right back here on Monday. Bye-bye.